Hi guys, today we are going to be reacting to a scuba diving video on YouTube. And the video is called Scuba Diving Gone Wrong, Weight Belt Accidents. So, little spoiler, it's going to be about a weight belt accident. And the idea is not to be mean about this video or critique it too harshly. The idea is to give constructive feedback on it, in my opinion, as a scuba diving professional, to help advise how could this be prevented or done better maybe. Because the reality is when it comes to scuba diving problems or issues underwater, majority of them can be prevented. It's just if they had better planning, if things weren't rushed, or if there is a problem that arises, that it's dealt with swiftly and efficiently. This is a blind reaction, but I also have read the description just to make sure that I kind of know what's going to be happening a little bit. And the main kind of points in this one, by the way, is that it's in Cozumel, Mexico, which is a beautiful place to go diving, by the way. It's still on my diving bucket list, but absolutely great thing. The deep depth is 100 feet. And that it's on the PADI open water advanced course. So this should be a pretty new diver because the advanced course is done after the open water one. So that's 4 open water dives at least to do this course. And deep is usually the first one out of the 5 dives that make up the advanced open water course. It's usually the first one just so you can have a good diving profile. You start on the deep course and then you do 2 shallower dives during that later that day, and maybe probably do 2 more the following day. But that's where you start with deep. It might not be the case, but it's probably their first dive on the advanced course. So I'm not expecting the most experienced diver. This is where it is like a learning experience that you can kind of get your head around. And I can tell this person's not very experienced because of this one line in the description. As you go deeper into your dive, the pressure will reduce your waistline, so you will need to be conscious of tightening your belt. Yep, that's the fitness influencer thing they keep gatekeeping. Everyone wants to know how to get a smaller waistline. It's just go down deeper, use pressure to get a thinner waist. That's literally the way. This information has been gatekept for years and now it's been revealed by divers. This is if you have a weight problem, you want to go diving. Obviously this is not true. This is the same thing about, oh, there's pressure, so are you going to turn into a hobbit if you go down underwater? No, so let's just get out of the way. This is bad advice. This person clearly is still quite inexperienced from what's been said here. So I'm not expecting the best sort of stuff. The only way you could give us a little bit of merit is if you're in colder waters where you say you need something like a 7mm wetsuit. And because how neoprene works, there's like small air spaces in between the neoprene. So when you do go deeper, those air spaces do get compressed. And because of that, then the wetsuit itself gets a bit thinner. So you might need to adjust your weight out a little bit. But we're going to see. I don't know if he's going to be wearing a wetsuit or not. But if he is, then there's a small argument with that. But it's not really a massive difference. The reality is probably he just wasn't wearing the weight belt correctly. But we're going to see the video. We're going to jump into it now. And we're going to see what actually did happen and what could have been avoided. Okay, let's go.
My first time to reverse flip off a boat into...
So that's his first one and he's using a GoPro. Interesting. Sorry, just go back. Sorry, I don't want to be that person, but if you're doing a backroll entry, I would probably want to see someone do a textbook one rather than have a camera trying to record himself while doing it. It's a bit clunky because a textbook backroll, by the way, you kind of see it there. One hand, it should be over the regulator and touching the mask, and everyone should be on your weight belt. You can do variations of this. You don't have to have both hands doing stuff, but for the first time, if you're ever doing a backroll, I'd probably want to see you do a textbook one so you get comfortable with it and you get in the most control possible. Because I've seen some people you just fall backwards, just like go slowly backwards. They force themselves really aggressively backwards and they end up doing somersaults on the surface of the water, and it takes them a second to get controlled and out of that daze, and it starts to dive on a bad note. So realistically, if it was their first time, I probably would say, hey, leave the camera, just get this back roll sorted, and then we could pass the camera to you on the dive. I also just want to go over cameras real quick, actually, because I'm guessing it's going to be...
flip off a boat into the ocean.
Yeah, so it's going to be him recording himself in the footage. So theoretically, if you are a certified open water diver, so you're doing 2 dives in the swimming pool and 4 dives in the open water, you are now able to bring cameras on any dive with you. However, in practice, I don't think that's usually a good idea. I think you should get a more tighter grasp of your fundamentals. I don't say you should have them mastered because not even like dive master trainees have it mastered straight away. I think it's one of the things that takes time. Some people get faster than others. Some people, it could be beyond 20 dives, it could be 30, 40, whatever, how long it takes you to get your fundamentals mastered. And when I say fundamentals, I mean you get your ideal breathing, so you're doing it slow, diaphragmatically. You also got your trim, so you're nice and flat and kicking nice and steadily. You also are finding your buoyancy nice and easy. You just can do it by feel. You're just noticing, oh yeah, I'm going up and down now of my neutral buoyancy, or oh no, I'm not quite right, I'm still sinking, so I need more air to my BCD. Things like that. It just takes a little bit of time and practice. But with time and practice, you will get to that experience level where it just comes naturally to you. You don't have to actively think about it. But when you're still a very new diver, you do think about these things a lot more, and it's surprising how much just mental space it takes to think 4 seconds in, 5 seconds out for my breathing, and simple things like that. So then you throw a camera into the mix, and then all the focus goes away from make sure all those fundamentals are tight, and it's actually then becomes a problem. You're not breathing correctly, so you're starting to drift upwards with each breath. You then are kicking to try and correct that, maybe to kick downwards or whatever. You're maybe not in proper trim, so you're moving inefficiently through the water. All these things, and suddenly it just snowballs to like a breaking point where it goes from discomfort, and then all these problems goes to stress. Stress leads to panic, and panic leads to an accident in the water, which can cause an injury or worse, which you just don't want to happen. And again, this is very preventable stuff, so if you didn't have the camera there, you usually would be fine. So when you are getting new, I think it's not a good idea to have the camera. I also think for training divers personally, I never like to have students with cameras. It's personal choice. The instructor is completely the person who gives a thumbs up or thumbs down to that at the end of the day, because they are the ones who are responsible. So if they don't feel comfortable you have a camera on the dive, that's completely fine, and you should respect that decision. And similarly, if I was an instructor in that scenario, I'd ask them, hey, have you ever used a camera before on a dive? And if they say no, it's kind of a red flag, and I'd be like, I just kind of want to see you on a dive without a camera first before I give you a camera. That's just kind of my understanding of it, because I know how even with good divers, it can take a lot of their concentration away and make them tunnel vision. So a newer diver who's not experienced, and especially one I've never dived with before, it's kind of a, ooh, if this guy doesn't know how to use a camera, this could actually be a bit of a problem in the water. So just to keep this in mind, I'm already seeing a red flag that the fact he's recording himself. Also, just to talk about it, he's got a selfie stick. Because they're so long and cumbersome, they kind of take away your one arm. You kind of are locked into not really using that thing. He does have a lanyard, I can see, but if you drop it, it could hit the bottom of the reef. It could cause some issues there. It's one of those things, it can get caught and create an entanglement issue, potentially. It's not the best GoPro to really have. You should have it on a short stick, just like a little floaty handle, or just hold the thing with just a lanyard around it. But realistically, it's one of those things which look cool, but it can create a problem because you don't have one hand. So dealing with things one-handed isn't as practical, realistically. But we'll see how he deals with it.
We are in Cozumel, Mexico.
Beautiful place.
This is a deep dive. 100 feet below the surface.
So this is his deep dive. 100 feet, by the way, is 30 meters for anyone who works on the metric system. Also, he's got some weird color grading going on here because the water looks purple, and I don't think the water's purple in Cozumel, so I think that's his color grading. Unless he dived on a day of very bad pollution, but I think he's fine. So the hand moving, by the way, that's a red flag to me as well. You should have your arms static. These other ones locked in, which is fine, but ideally have it static. I'm just looking at his body position. You can see from the bubbles.
See the wall.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I'll probably move the camera so you guys can see it just there. It is somewhat trim. It seems fine, but that arm moving is a bit of a red flag to me. You shouldn't be moving that arm. Just for anyone who doesn't know why you shouldn't move your arm stuff, it's just unnecessary. It's an unnecessary movement which wastes energy. It's usually because they're not quite happy with their buoyancy and to keep them in the right trim, so they're doing that. So this is one of the things, if you keep it static, and then you can just adjust your position. If you feel like you're too bottom heavy, just move your arm a bit more forward. If you feel like you're too top heavy, just move your arm back a bit and have it closer to your body. That's an easy way you can just adjust with your arms to make sure you stay in trim. But generally, even though it's just a weird camera angle here, they are in trim at the moment.
Straight down. Weights are needed to keep you from uncontrolled ascent.
It's one of the reasons, I guess. The reasons you have weight, just to clarify, it's to help you get down on the dive, but also keep you stay down on the dive. So you see he has a tank on his back, for anyone who's not a diver. Tanks are pressurized with air or a gas blend. The idea is that as you breathe and consume more of that air, it's going to get less and less pressurized, And as the volume of pressure gets smaller in the tank, it means that the tank's going to get more and more positively buoyant, and it's going to want to pull you up during the dive. So as the dive progresses, it's going to want to pull you up more and more. So the weights are there to offset that so that you can maintain position and be the one in control of your depth during the dive, rather than being at the mercy of the tank pulling you up slowly. But yeah, it's there to keep you down and to keep you make you stay down, but not to avoid uncontrolled descent. That's something what you have full control over yourself.
When you lose your weight, you lose control.
Yeah, that's true. If you lose your weights, the other thing what keep you very negative, if you lost your weights, suddenly you would go a lot more positively buoyant, and it's quite hard to control that ascent. You can deflate your BCD, you can do longer exhales, but realistically, if it is quite a lot of weight you're using and that change is big, it can be quite hard to keep your depth properly and stuff. So yeah, it will make you go into an uncontrolled descent.
When you lose control of your ascent, bubbles form inside your body, and you get the bends, aka decompressions.
Bit extreme here. So yes, you can. So when you are underwater and you're breathing compressed air, that air gets absorbed into your tissues. The oxygen part's fine. The nitrogen part, though, needs to be released in a slow manner, because if it gets released fast, bubbles will form, and this can cause pain, aches, as it just says on screen there, paralysis and death in extreme cases. But you have to absorb quite a bit of nitrogen. It's not like if you did a straight away at the start of the dive, which went down and straight back up again, it's not as likely. It's if you've been down longer. So the longer time you've been at depth in the water and the deeper you go, the more nitrogen you'll absorb. So it's not completely true. If you just go down for like a few minutes and then just go back up again, even if it wasn't the best ascent, it got a low chance of it happening. This is a low chance situations. And this is why in scuba diving we do very slow ascents to avoid this happening. But obviously if you lose your weight, that as he spoke about here, and have a very fast ascent, you are at a heightened risk of getting DCS, also known as the bends.
Resulting in paralysis or death.
So he's diving there. It's not perfect trim. It's kind of like slightly upwards. Again,
I'm wearing 10 pounds on my belt.
10 pounds, that's just under 5 kilograms. That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight. So just for context, when I dive in just a rash guard and shorts like himself, and I think I'm similar build to him looking at him, I don't need any weight at all. I am pretty fine just to go down and not need any weights. If I dive with that, which weighs roughly about 5 kilograms, that's if I'm wearing a 5mm long wetsuit, which is obviously more buoyant, so that's why I need more weight. So in my opinion, I think he's quite heavily overweighted here, and that's possibly why his trims are going a bit off. Like right now he's very vertical. He's very, very vertical. But this could possibly be why his trim's not being quite right. I don't know what his buddy's doing. His buddy's... I was like, can we just go back and see what his buddy's doing?
Paralysis or death. I am wearing.
They're trying to turn. I think they just were going to turn and then they realised they're going to kick him in the face, and they now doing some weird manoeuvre. I will say the instructors are a bit oblivious to this. In their defence with instructors, it's only, you have to take your eyes off someone for like a second and things can go south quite quickly. You kind of need like eyes in the back of your head. The one way I got around doing this is just do some belly rolls. So just roll onto your back and look like a sea otter and just kind of keep your eyes on people occasionally like that, or swim half the time backwards. Not ideal, but it's definitely a good way to stay safe, especially if you're with divers who you are not familiar diving with. As I say, this is meant to be their first advanced open water dive. So I would be keeping an even more close eye on these divers, because I don't know how they dive. And from what I've seen so far, the trim's not been quite right. I would have wanted to fix that, tell them go get flat or lift your legs up more. There's different signals which I would use to be like, hey, get into trim, and then it's good. Like this position this diver here is in, this is not what you want to see. You want to get them back into a nice trim position, like how the instructor is, and then it's good. Because this is, you don't have one vertical, one doing roly-polies, whatever they're doing underwater. Yeah, this is one of the things that needs to be adjusted. Let's go back and watch that again.
Death. I am wearing 10 pounds on my belt. My belt has a plastic buckle.
Okay.
You can see my belt.
Oh, beeping. Okay. So let's just go over that. He's got a plastic buckle. That is still sufficient by way as a weight belt. They are like one of those weight belts, which I personally prefer the metal clip-ons. I think it's a bit more secure, but if the weights are distributed correctly, which They don't look like they are actually, looking at this. Oh dear. So if I was like saying he's got 10 pounds, that's quite a lot of weight. And I'd have it like smaller weights just kind of go along the side of him. That way then you can distribute it. You can even put some on the back of the tank band, which could move the weight from the lower half of his body more to the top half of his body to help him get into trim easier. Just generally, that's a better way of handling the weight situation there. But that could be an issue with the plastic belts. But even a metal belt buckle could, if it's not secured and it's like in a position, it could come undone. You can see it's already pulling there actually. So it's got loose and he hasn't realised properly at this point, which hopefully he does notice that. It's going to be hard for him to fix it with one hand, but you can just signal to your buddy, go, hey, problem, point to your belt, and then they can come over and help you out. Although the buddy's not looking too under control, so this is where they need to get the instructor probably involved to help them out with the belt. But this is one thing, you should feel it right now. And this probably is pulling, this is why he's in this bad body position. But if it is like a 5 pound weight on either side, it's not good weight distribution on the belt itself.
Becoming loose.
Oh yeah, and the beeping part, that usually signifies an ascent. So he's ascending a bit too fast right now. So this is what computers do when you start ascending a bit too fast when you should be ascending. It's like a warning thing, hey, you're going too fast, stop your ascent right now. Because this is one of those warnings that if you're going this fast, you have a risk of getting the bends, as you mentioned before. I don't know why he's ascending. I think it's because he's gone too vertical. Going vertical, so you're kicking, it's going to make it go upwards. So this is just, again, bad technique. Instructors should be hopefully turn and see them soon.
The weight is dangling.
Yeah, it's dangling. Should fix it, dude.
I am surprised it is still hanging on.
I'm surprised. Why haven't you fixed it?
This wall has a lot of current.
It looks like a small plus to me.
This dive has become also a drift dive.
Okay, drift dives are not separate from deep dives. You can do a deep drift dive, that's completely fine. It's not like separate. However, if you're not used to drift dives, it is one of the things that you need to be a bit more aware of. There's a few different things. You need to be close to the reef. You need to have good trim positions, because you see some people and they look like they're just getting thrown around in the washing machine because they're not used to drift dives. So from him making this point, I'm guessing he was diving in very swimming pool-like conditions in the past, and now it's become a problem because he's not used to drift diving. If you're not used to drift diving, watch what the dive master or guide or instructor is doing ahead of you and just kind of mimic their body position. If they turn slightly into the current, if they turn facing a certain way, that can help you. If they're kicking, if they're not kicking, mimic what the instructor or guide's doing, and that's going to help you out a lot on a drift dive.
Suddenly,
Oh, dramatic music's kicked in.
I watched the weight.
Oh, it's gone.
disappear into the abyss.
No, I love how he put the dramatic music in there. It feels like an old school YouTube video. It's like, we need to have a tense moment. Let's put the dramatic music in there. Well, this is sad, and we need the viewer to feel like it's sad, so let's put the sad song in there. Oh dear, it's so funny. But that's not a good situation. That as soon as that weight goes, as I said, it's keeping him negatively buoyant, or adding lots of negative buoyancy to him. So as soon as that goes, he's going to come very positively buoyant very fast. It's going to make you start to ascend. So your gut reaction should be go to your low pressure inflator hose, deflate that thing, and that way then you can hopefully slow down the ascent and hopefully stop the ascent. And if need be, start doing long exhales. Small inhale in, followed by long exhales. So like just a, and then you get the idea. That's like just a quick example of that. You don't have to, it's just a tiny bit in and then loads can come out, and that's going to help you go down as well. Fortunately from how it pulled him down and the position he was already in though, he is vertical. So let's see if he does it correctly now. Nope, he's screaming for help. Well, yeah, but you need to fix that, dude. Signal for help is a good thing, but
indicating I have lost my belt.
deflate. Oh no, he's going to hit the reef. Oh god. He's not deflating. Deflate. He's focused so much on the camera still. That. Okay, instructors make contact. Good. Deflate.
Struggle to avoid ascending further.
Oh my god, that's loud. I'm just going to say quickly though, it shouldn't be up to the instructor to do that deflate. The instructor, I don't know if they, because off camera, they should be saying to him, you need to deflate. The fact he's just like, in his like daze, he's not panicking, which I guess I can give him a little bit of commendation for, but you should be deflating yourself, and that should be a reaction to yourself. If you notice you're going upwards, go vertical, deflate. There should not be someone having to go fix this for you. You are a certified open water diver now. this should be something you know how to do. But yeah, at least that's happened. Well, yeah, that's still very loud. I'm going to just lower the volume there. Okay, still made contact, that's good from the instructor side. I don't think she's tugging. Just to go over this, don't pull someone down to get them back down to depth. Reason is that obviously their ears need to equalize. So if someone hasn't equalized their ear, they've already got a little bit of pressure, you suddenly pull them down, it's going to add a lot of pressure to their ears. And this is where they can have problems with ears. Lots of nasty things can happen. So don't pull someone down, let them fix it themselves with their breathing. But you can make contact. You can also make sure they're not ascending. So hold them in place, make sure they're not ascending, but make sure that they are controlling the ascent round. And probably go, remember, equalize. Just because pulling someone down can cause that big problem that they're going to rupture their eardrum. But we'll see. I don't think she is pulling down. I think she's just making contact. Okay.
She tells me to breathe.
Okay, good. Tell him to breathe out because he's clearly not doing it properly himself. So do the long
I
exhales.
am out of breath, but I continue to breathe out.
As I say, you don't need to do big inhales in, especially when you're trying to get back to depth. You should do small in, lots of exhales out, and just keep doing that thing until you get back to the proper depth again.
We come back down to a safe depth.
Good. So back to the correct depth.
She
Okay,
puts
what's she doing now?
weights into my
Good.
UCD pockets.
So as an instructor and guide, you should always have weights on you in case your clients or students need extra weight. So it's good she's doing that. And one of the advantages of having the jacket style BCD is that you can just put some weights into those pockets with ease. You don't have to mess around with trying to put them back on a weight belt or onto a tank. You just slide them into the pockets and it's going to be fine. Oh, pretend to loud music. This guy's audio controller is wild. Okay, looks like they're back into control. Yeah, just put a bit more in there, just make sure. That's good.
Everything is okay.
Well, he needs to go back to trim first,
If
dude, before you say
remain
that.
Calm.
Yeah. In his defense, he was calm. He's also kind of like completely out of it, which might be because it's his first deep dive. I think you could say that gas narcosis set in, so he experienced being narked. I know all about it, it's my namesake. But the idea, it slows down your thinking, slows down reaction time, and it might just let the narcosis take over that he just wasn't aware of the situation really. He was a bit out of it, and he just really just didn't do anything correctly because he just wasn't prepared for it. So he's like, oh, so he completely forgot about deflating, he completely forgot about getting to trim positions, he forgot about his correct breathing. It's one of those things where you could give him some benefit of doubt that it's maybe his first time feeling gas narcosis and it just kind of let him take over. He wasn't trying to overcome it and focus around it, he just let it overwhelm him. But it's one of the things that he did, obviously not panic, which makes it safer for the instructor to intervene, but similarly as well, you should be taking responsibility when diving like this and make sure you are looking after yourself.
Master averted. I do not
Okay.
trust a belt with a plastic buckle.
It wasn't plastic buckle's fault. That was bad setup, not resolving it underwater, and that's why you went there. Okay, take these headphones out. Let's just quickly go over that. So this definitely could have been prevented. So first of all, I think he shouldn't have the camera on him. The instructor should have been like, okay, I just want to see you without a camera on the dive and just see how you dive before we get the camera involved. That's just my opinion. If I'm not used to diving with someone and they're inexperienced who are still open water divers, I don't want them having cameras until I see them on the dive and I'm like, cool, you got my green flag to go forward with a camera. Secondly, they're overweighted. That is typically a lazy guide / instructor thing to do. They don't know roughly how much weight they need, so they go, oh, I'll just have loads of weight, and that way then I don't have to worry about weights properly. However, in practice, overweighting divers can first cause a buoyancy issue. They get very negatively weighted and they don't realize how much they have to inflate at depth to get to the right level to become neutrally buoyant. So they can have issues where they are always being pulled down, and sometimes that might be why they are kicking downwards to keep them afloat at the right depth. Or it's just that it's so bottom heavy because of all that extra weight that's causing them to be really hard for them to stay into trim. So it goes both ways really. So even though it sounds like, oh, it's easy, just give them lots of weights, don't have to worry about them having good breathing or anything like that, it can actually create more work for you because it can create them having lots of issues underwater, and then from their lack of experience, not knowing how to resolve it themselves. So even though it might seem like a good idea to overweight people, don't do it. Try and get them a good correct amount of weight. As I say, I think you could add even less than half the amount of weight you had there and been fine. But if you give them that much weight, make sure it's evenly distributed. Have just break it up into a few different blocks on the weight belt, spread around the whole belt. Maybe put some on the tank band, around the tank strap. That way then there's more on the top half of his body so that it's not all bottom heavy. So I think the setup was already bad from the get-go. The weight belt did become loose during the dive. This is one of the things that sometimes newer divers, they find it uncomfortable on the surface when they're sitting on the boat with the weight belt on, that it's always a bit too tight, so they loosen it and then forget to tighten it again on the dive. One thing that I always do after I've got to depth and descended, I just check all my releases, just go over it all on my shoulders, my waist, and check my weight belt and make sure it feels comfortable. And if I need to maybe make it a bit tighter, it's good just have a little pause, get yourself comfortable before you start the dive, get into that trim position, and then you can just go forwards in a lot more comfortable way. Actually, if you look there, his alternate is actually in the wrong place. It's over his arm, which should be under the arm. So that's not great. That diver's correct. But that's, again, the instructor's not paying attention to him, because that will be something you'd want to correct, because it's just not a good position for it to be in. So again, I think he just got very consumed by having the GoPro, which is not ideal. The one thing is, well, was when this weight belt starts sliding, so if we go back through it now, I'm going to turn the volume off because I don't need to hear it. This thing starts sliding, it's not in a good position where it is. So he really should be either trying to fix it himself or signal to his buddy or instructor, like, hey, problem weight belt right now. I don't know why he's gone vertical, that's going to exacerbate the problem right now. And then it just goes, and you lost your weight belt. Because it's on a wall, I don't know how deep the bottom of that wall is. If anyone dives in Cozumel, let me know. I'm very curious. But it might be quite hard to retrieve that belt if it is a very deep wall with like a very deep bottom. But him not responding, he literally just freezing up right now. And signal for help's a good thing and stuff, but you really should be just being deflate. You should try to fix this yourself right now. And then signal, by the way, the signal for anyone who needs weight, this is a signal for weight. Go, hey, I need a weight. This is one of those things where him not knowing what to do, I said he wasn't panicked. He is looking a bit panicked here, actually, which is understandable. Crashing into the reef's never a good thing. Yeah, I just don't want to see that. But luckily, it's more of a rocky kind of structure, not some soft corals. But even then, there's still microorganisms and small marine life that can be living in those kind of rocks and stuff. So it can disturb them and damage them. So it's one of those unfortunate times where divers can be bad for the reef. But yeah, as I say, the instructor then takes control of the panic situation very well. But I personally think this could have been avoided. If the instructor kept an eye on him, spotted the weight belt sooner, it is one of those things like you feel like you always have to have eyes in the back of your head as an instructor. But at least they dealt with the situation well. But I think they could have been avoided with a bit more attention to them. Just because the fact they were diving out of trim constantly, they're both doing weird things, especially if we go back to this point here. I just don't know what was going on here. The instructors are just completely oblivious to what's going on. They're looking into the blue as well there, so I don't know why they're looking at that and not paying attention. This is one of the things that it could have been really easy to spot right now. Get them both nice into trim, under control, and they continue to dive. And it's easy to spot problems then if they do arise. But yeah, all things considered, at least the divers got out safely. I'm happy about that side of things. Give it a like, obviously, because I do like these kind of videos for being a case study. It's great for us as divers to be able to go, okay, this wasn't perfect, but let's look how we can avoid these kind of problems. Because we've all been in situations where we could have been better divers. Let's be real. Maybe not this bad, maybe not losing weight belts bad, but similarly, we have a learning curve. You probably didn't have the best breathing or best finning techniques when you started. And it's good to have footage of this to be like, hey, okay, what could you do better here? What could have been done better here? And then makes you a better diver to be aware of it. So I hope this video has been helpful in that side of things. I just want to quickly check the comments, see if anyone else has got like a similar kind of take on this. Get the camera out of your hand and you can deflate your BTC by yourself. Very true. I fully agree on this one. I think the camera was the issue. I think if he didn't have a camera, he would have actually bothered to fix his weight belt sooner and not be completely oblivious to it being a problem. But it's just one of those things with cameras being an issue, and it's not like a rule of thumb like once you get to X amount of dives you're good to have a camera. It varies from person to person, but it really can inhibit you. and him going deep and probably experiencing some gas narcosis at the same time did not help the situation of him tunnel visioning and not actually responding to problems correctly. 100 feet hard current dives. I wouldn't say it's hard current. I'm just going to go over that. It is a small plus. I'm used to drift diving, and that did not look like a crazy current in any way at all. It's just he wasn't used to currents, which is, again, any conditions you're not used to, it's very important to take it easy. Maybe tell the instructor about this so they have a bit more focus on you and keep an eye on you even closer. But realistically, whenever you're diving in conditions you're not familiar with, you really shouldn't be having like a camera, because it adds an extra layer of difficulty there, which you really don't need. You need to be focusing on the dive completely and not be worrying about camera while other things are happening to you and you're not in control. But anyway, should not be tempted by someone that can't even deflate their BCD for an emergency valve or retain spatial awareness. I agree. The not deflation was a really bad moment. That's very worrying that they didn't do that. And also, again, dump valve is another thing. There's dump valves on BCDs. You could pull the LPI instead of actually pressing the button just to actually deflate those ones commonly. They have one on the back at the bottom. There's ways you can get that air out of the VCD, and the fact that you just didn't respond is really concerning, and how it's a bit like a baby going, "Mommy, help me, Mommy, help me."
Goo goo gaga, I want milk.
Was not a good situation to be in. You shouldn't expect the instructor to fix all the problems if you are a certified diver. And it kind of makes me worry about where did they get certified and what did they not get shown on their open water course. But yeah, all in all, I think it's great that someone shared this and was actually okay to share it. I find also just the video as a whole interesting, just from the editing standpoint. The color gradings making the water purple was a very interesting choice, and the audio blurting out of nowhere to make it very tense. Just think, for anyone who's got headphones, don't do that, because I think that's not very fun for headphone users. And then finally, was it like ChatGPT text prompts? The text felt so robotic. I guess not, because it was done back in 2016, the video, but that's wild how it was like a full-on like ChatGPT explaining what's happening to me. But yeah, as I appreciate the video. If you found this video helpful or informative or just entertaining anyway, please give it a like. I would appreciate that, and let me know you want to see more videos like this. And if anyone's got any more recommendations of videos you would like me to react to, let me know down below as well. I've been Narked, guys. I hope you guys are having safe dives and not losing your weight belts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Just on a side note, guys, I just noticed that it says losing your weight belt on a dive is a very common occurrence. I don't know where this guy dives where it's like a common occurrence, but it's not. I don't want to know where he's diving where it's just full of weight belts at the bottom of the ocean. It's not a common occurrence.